together. Radio Manu 91 where it's always better. Where it's always better. Yo, सुबह का सूरज या शाम का रंग, we bring you joy हर जुबान का धन. Community की बात हम हैं आपके साथ, let's spread the love, चलो मिल के साथ. Tune in, turn up, दिल से बात करो. Radio Manu 92 FM के साथ चलो. Every voice counts, हर लम्हा यहाँ चलो. बात करके देखते हैं, let's all shine on. Yo, let's all go. सेहत की बात or dreams to share. Radio Manu 92 FM, we're always there. From unity to joy, we bring the light. Every word, every tune makes everything right. Listen up, it's time to unite. Radio Manu 92 FM, shining bright. Dill se suno, we love and care. Chalo baat karke dekhte hain, let's take it there. So come along for the ride. Radio Manu 92 FM, we're by your side. चलो बात करके देखते हैं. Your voice, your guide.
ये है रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM. चलो बात करके देखते हैं.
This is Radio Manu 90.0 FM presenting Saheli Samvad.
आदाब हैदराबाद. मैं हूं आरजे मोनिशा और सहेली संवाद के आज के एपिसोड में आपका स्वागत है. सहेली संवाद is presented by Center for Women Studies, Maulana Azad National Urdu University and Rubaru, a youth development organization working in Hyderabad on issues of social inclusion for the last 10 years. Today's guest on Saheli Samvad is Natasha Ramaratnam, and our topic for today's conversation is where are women in conversations of climate change? So welcome Natasha, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you Monisha, thank you for having me.
So lovely to have you join us today. So Natasha, like we always begin our show, if you can start by sharing a little bit about yourself and introducing yourself to our audience.
Sure. So I am essentially a management consultant and I was working in the public sector for a long time. But then I wanted to work on issues which are more meaningful to the welfare of the nation. So which is when I moved to the social sector. My first assignment was with an organization that provides consulting services to NGOs.
Yeah.
So essentially I was doing the same work. The only thing is I was working with NGOs instead of with corporates.
Yeah.
And I was helping them make a change rather than helping them just make more money and get richer and get their shareholders richer.
Yeah.
After about 15 years as a consultant in the NGO space, I moved to an organization that works with children and youth in communities, largely on issues relating to self-efficacy, gender, and the need to just dream and break out of the poverty cycle. So the last 5 years I have been, while working with youth was great, I've realized that probably youth don't have a future if we don't consider the climate. So for the last couple of years, I have largely been volunteering with organizations that are creating awareness about climate change, about the need to take action to curb the ill effects of climate change, with a focus on women and youth.
Yeah.
So that is where I am today, and I'm really happy to be a part of Saheli Samvad because environment and women are just so tied together.
Yeah. But
it's not something we talk about too
often.
much.
Yeah. So Natasha, you're an independent consultant and you work at the intersection of issues of women, youth, and the environment, right? And that somewhere also sets the ground for the topic of our conversation today, which is where are women in the conversations of climate change? So if you can tell us a little bit around climate change, a little bit around before we even come into where are women in these conversations, if we can help our audience even understand the impact of climate change on community spaces.
Of course. I think we've all heard the word climate change, climate action, global warming. Everybody hears about it. Even more than that, I think we are all seeing the effects of climate change. We are seeing flooding in Delhi. We are seeing unprecedented heat waves. Last year or 2 years back, there was a disastrous flood in Pakistan where a significant portion of the population got displaced. Every day there are landslides in the Himalayas. So we are living the effects of climate change. And while people say, but we are also having very cold winters, so where is global warming? They're all linked. It's just climate change is changing the world. Everything is becoming more adverse. And somehow it is women, and by women I mean women and any other marginalized society, section of society, that's really bearing the brunt of it. So, to give just a very small example, we, as a part of climate change, climate change is not just global warming, it's also depleting the water table. Now, imagine a village in India where women have to go a significant distance to fetch water. Today, 13-year-old girl can walk to a well which is maybe half a kilometer away, fetch the water, come home, and then manage to go to school. But if the water table gets depleted and her well dries up, and if she is a lower caste woman who is not allowed to use the well which the upper caste people use, she probably has to go a much greater distance to fetch water. Very often what happens is that is the one source of water. There are many people coming there, so the water depletes. You then have to wait till the water fills up again. So what was earlier just a question of walking to the nearest well and coming back now takes maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. How is this girl going to continue her studies? She has to drop out. It's the same with firewood. It's the same with food. It's the same with everything. So every time resources get depleted in any way, it is women who bear the brunt. And again, if there is climate change, agriculture goes down, men migrate to cities in search of jobs, women are left behind, and they are much more vulnerable to sexual violence, to other violence. When you're going to fetch water, people know you're going. You're leaving yourself open. You're leaving yourself so vulnerable. And these are things we don't think about. Also, in cities where water is more readily available, in a one-car family or a one-vehicle family, it's a man who has the vehicle. The woman walks, which means her exposure to air pollution is much more than the man. Typically, and I'm not stereotyping, but women typically have poorer nutrition than men, which makes them more anemic, which makes them more vulnerable to pollution. So in every way, it is women who get pressed in when there is climate change happening. And absolutely worse is when we have natural calamities. I mentioned floods in Pakistan where so many people were displaced. This happens regularly. When there's a flood, you get pushed into a shelter. What happens to women, trans women, or any other vulnerable person or a child? They are so vulnerable to sexual violence. They are so vulnerable to different kinds of exploitation. This is something we don't talk about. We talk about climate change in the generic sense, but women, trans women, women from lower sections of society, children, including girls and boys, are much more vulnerable, and we do need them in the conversation.
So Natasha, I think before we again go into the conversation bit of it, if you can share some more examples. You've shared now in rural communities, what is the impact of women, and I think you've painted that picture for us. If you can help us understand, how do women in urban cities, like in Hyderabad, if you're talking about it, how are they impacted by climate change? If there are any examples of within the family space, if we can see the role or responsibility that women take on, or what is the impact on them?
Yeah, sure. So if you recognize that the caregiving role is largely performed by women, you then realize exactly how every woman becomes vulnerable. Now look at Hyderabad and air pollution in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
In the last 6 months, we probably had, and I'm not exaggerating, less than 20 days of clean air. The rest of the days we've been breathing unhealthy air.
Yeah.
Air pollution is the second largest killer in the world after BP.
Yeah.
What happens when you're breathing poor air? Whether it's a child, whether it's a woman, whether it's anybody, you breathe poor air, you fall sick, you are more prone to coughs and colds. Coughs and colds also take longer to go away. So many more children today are getting asthma. We are privileged. We can have a purifier in a house, but a typical woman does not have it. Her children fall sick much more because of air pollution. She falls sick. Guess who's looking after a child when the child is ill? It's the woman.
It's the mother.
So if she is maybe a domestic worker, she has to take days off, or she has to carry a sick child with her to work. So it's and maybe you'll say a domestic worker is lower income, but if you look at a typical middle class household, the woman drops a child off in school, waits there, brings a child back. She's just getting exposed to air pollution.
Yeah.
If she's a working woman, again, walking to the bus stop, walking to the metro station, just so much exposure.
Yeah.
It is disproportionate on women, and because they are exposed more, it's worse. And the recent heat wave, we saw how everybody suffered.
Yeah.
And women suffered much more because a man keeps himself safe, a woman keeps her family safe.
Yeah.
So women suffer wherever they are.
Yeah. Thank you, Natasha, for sharing this. And I think also highlighting Hyderabad's air quality. I think in my mind, if I really think of it, I feel like Hyderabad is great weather, or, it's not as bad as, say, Delhi is, or, what keeps coming up in the news. So it is insightful to hear. And I think I also want to talk to you about your climate scarf right now. But we'll be right back after this short break. We're in conversation with Natasha on understanding where are women in the conversations of climate change.
आप सुन रहे हैं सहेली संवाद, रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM का वुमेन्स शो।
You're listening to Radio Manu 90.0 FM, a community radio station.
So join the wave, come along for the ride. Radio Manu 90.0 FM, we're by your side. चलो बात करके देखते हैं.
Your voice, your guide.
This audio has been generated through AI.
Let's listen to History's Mysteries.
आदाब दोस्तों, आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM। आइए आज हिस्ट्रीज मिस्ट्रीज में जानते हैं पॉटरी की कहानी, एक ऐसी कला जिसने इंसानी तहजीब को बसने, संभलने और तरक्की करने का नया रास्ता दिखाया। जरा अपनी आंखें बंद कीजिए। हजारों साल पहले का जमाना है। न फ्रिज था, न स्टील के बर्तन और न ही प्लास्टिक के डब्बे। लोग शिकार करते थे, फल और अनाज जमा करते थे, लेकिन एक बड़ी परेशानी थी, खाने और पानी को महफूज कैसे रखा जाए। इसी जरूरत ने जन्म दिया इंसान की सबसे पुरानी और अहम कलाओं में से एक को, पॉटरी यानी मिट्टी के बर्तन बनाने की कला। दोस्तों, पॉटरी का मतलब है मिट्टी को शक्ल देकर उसे आग में पकाकर मजबूत बर्तन, मटके, सुराहियां और दूसरी चीजें बनाना। यह सिर्फ रोजमर्रा की जरूरत ही नहीं, बल्कि इंसानी तहजीब और हुनरमंदी की पहली निशानियों में से एक है। लेकिन सवाल यह है कि मिट्टी के बर्तन सबसे पहले कब बने। आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट के मुताबिक दुनिया की सबसे पुरानी मालूम पॉटरी चाइना के सियान रेंडोंग केव से मिली है। ये मिट्टी के बर्तन लगभग 20,000 साल पुराने यानी करीब 18,000 BCE के माने जाते हैं। ये उस दौर के हैं जब इंसान अभी खेती भी शुरू नहीं कर पाया था। इसके बाद जापान की जोमन सिविलाइजेशन ने लगभग 14,000 BCE से पॉटरी बनाना शुरू की। जोमन का मतलब ही है रोप पैटर्न, क्योंकि उनके बर्तनों पर रस्सी के निशान बनाए जाते थे। जैसे जैसे इंसान ने खेती और गांव बसाना शुरू किया, पॉटरी की अहमियत और बढ़ती गई। मिट्टी के बर्तन पानी, अनाज और तेल को महफूज रखने के साथ साथ खाना पकाने और सफर के दौरान सामान ले जाने के लिए भी इस्तेमाल होने लगे। भारत की बात करें तो इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन यानी हड़प्पा और मोहनजोदारो में लगभग 2600 BCE के दौरान बहुत ही खूबसूरत और मजबूत पॉटरी बनाई जाती थी। लाल मिट्टी के बर्तनों पर काले रंग की नक्काशी उस दौर की बेहतरीन क्राफ्ट्समैनशिप की मिसाल है। इन बर्तनों से हमें उस जमाने के लोगों की जिंदगी, तिजारत और तहजीब के बारे में भी बहुत कुछ पता चलता है। बाद में पॉटर्स व्हील यानी कुम्हार का चक की इन्वेंशन ने पॉटरी की दुनिया में एक नया इनकलाब ला दिया। इससे बर्तन पहले से कहीं ज्यादा तेज, एक जैसे और खूबसूरत बनने लगे। आज पॉटरी सिर्फ जरूरत की चीज नहीं रही, ये एक आर्ट फॉर्म, कल्चरल हेरिटेज और मॉडर्न डिजाइन का भी अहम हिस्सा है। दुनिया भर के आर्टिस्ट्स और क्राफ्ट्समैन आज भी मिट्टी को अपनी कला से नए रूप देते हैं। तो दोस्तों, पॉटरी सिर्फ मिट्टी के बर्तन बनाने की कहानी नहीं है, ये इंसानी सोच, हुनर और तहजीब के सफर की कहानी है। मिट्टी से शुरू हुआ ये सफर आज भी हमें अपनी जड़ों और अपनी तारीख से जोड़कर रखता है। दोस्तों, आज के हिस्ट्रीज मिस्ट्रीज में फिलहाल इतना ही। अगली मुलाकात में फिर लेकर आएंगे तारीख के पन्नों से एक और हैरत अंगेज इन्वेंशन, डिस्कवरी या हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट की कहानी। तब तक के लिए सुनते रहिए रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM। चलो बात करके देखते हैं।
आप सुन रहे थे हिस्ट्रीज मिस्ट्रीज। For sales, marketing and brand promotions, write to us on Radio Manu at manu.edu.in.
So join the wave, come along for the ride. Radio Manu 90.0 FM, we're by your side. चलो बात करके देखते हैं.
Your voice, your guide.
आप सुन रहे हैं सहेली संवाद, रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM का वुमेन्स शो।
Welcome back on Saheli Samvad. On today's conversation, we are talking about where are women in the conversations of climate change with Natasha, our guest of the show. So Natasha, just before the break, we were talking about, you were talking about air pollution, you were talking about Hyderabad's air quality and how really, women are impacted by this. I think if we can also highlight and, bring about that it's also men working outside, they're also in spaces of construction work, they're out there also in the heat. Any information about that and really how do we look at that in these conversations of climate change?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Air quality affects everybody because all of us breathe air. I mean, when we were younger, we used to say you can't live on love and fresh air.
Yeah.
Where is fresh air today? We don't have fresh air.
Yeah.
And of course, men are impacted. And when I say women are disproportionately impacted, how can I even leave out not just laborers on construction sites, but all your Swiggy, the Ola guys, the auto rickshaw guys, they are out there, the security guards, they're all there out in the open,
heat,
day
100%.
in and day out, breathing hazardous air. So, women get disproportionately affected because if anybody falls sick, the burden of caregiving falls on them. But air quality affects everybody and it particularly affects the poorer people. I mean, if you really look at intersectionalities, it affects anyone who's poor, anyone who is female, anyone who's a child, because children are shorter, so they take in more fumes. So, but it affects everybody. And, I'm a mother of kids who are in college, and if you don't mind me digressing, winter holidays, my kids had come home. Normally, you're thrilled your kids are home and you plan out, I'm going to do so much and I'm going to enjoy time with my kids. the day my son landed, the air quality in Hyderabad was hazardous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I being so selfish as to ask my children to come visit me when they are going to be breathing such horrible air? I felt so guilty for the entire 3 weeks because my kids are home and I am helping make them sick.
Yeah.
So, it's just that. But I am privileged. My kids are not breathing this every day.
Yeah.
But other mothers, other people, other families are breathing it every day. And it's something we have to worry about all the time.
Yeah, so also while you're talking about these numbers, air quality, so if you can share more, if there are numbers and statistics that you can share around this. And also if you can talk about your project that I see online on social media, which is a very interesting project around the climate scarf that you're weaving together, if I may say that. So yeah, if you can share a little bit about both.
Right. Yeah. So we tend to believe that Hyderabad doesn't have a problem with air quality.
Yeah.
And just to give an indication, 0 to 50 is good, 50 to 100 is moderate, 100 to 150 is unhealthy for sensitive groups, 150 to 200 is unhealthy, and beyond that is toxic, hazardous, very unhealthy.
Yeah.
We typically had air quality between 70 to 120, which was not good, but it was still okay for most
Tolerable.
people.
Yeah.
So we always prided ourselves that, unlike Delhi, we have good air.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who actually relocated from Delhi to Hyderabad because of their kids' health, purely for air quality reasons. But then in December, I started seeing that we were having hazardous air days, we were having toxic air days, we were having unhealthy days. And that's when I thought, I can talk about it, but let me do something that is more visually hits you in the eye. So I took the typical AQI index chart, and every day, depending on what the air quality was, I crochet one line in what it is that day. So the first 15 days were horrible. It was hazardous. It was very unhealthy. One day we got unhealthy for sensitive groups, and it was, wow, it's going down. And it's there visually. It's really
Did
there
you have
visually.
a color coding to it? How did it?
I use the global standard color coding for it.
Okay.
By February, things had settled. By settled, what I mean is it was either unhealthy for sensitive groups or it was unhealthy, but it was not very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Which is also not very good, but given how bad it was, it seemed good.
Yeah.
May and June, second half of May and June has been good because we've had rains. Rains bring down the pollution, so we've been having a lot of good air days. I can't really give the exact numbers, but typically I would estimate that we had about 10 days of very bad air. We had about 20 days of reasonably good air. And the rest of the days in the 6 months have been either unhealthy for sensitive groups or unhealthy for everybody. That 100 to 120 range is where most of the days have been, which is not very good news. And we do need to do something about it pretty soon.
Yeah, it is surprising that you share that because, like I said before, I think it is, it seems like the air is great, but I think it's really, when you go into this data, when you look at it, and I think just how a creative way that you've used to put it together into this climate scarf, I think is just insightful to learn about. So I think we'll be back after a short break, but I think before that, Natasha, I think would like to then go into a conversation into understanding really where are these conversations even happening when we're talking about climate change conversations? Who are some of the stakeholders that play a role in sort of worsening it, if I may say that? So yeah, those are some questions for you that we're going to ask. Friends, we're in conversation with Natasha, and we'll be right back after this short break on the discussion on where are women in conversations of climate change.
You're listening to Saheli Samvad, Radio Manu 90.0 FM's Women's Show.
आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो मानो 90.0 FM, एक कम्युनिटी रेडियो स्टेशन।
So join the wave, come along for the ride. Radio Manu 90.0 FM, we're by your side. चलो बात करके देखते हैं.
Your voice, your guide.
This audio has been generated through AI.
ये है रेडियो मानू 90.0 FM। आइए अब सुनते हैं द माइंडफुल मिनट।
शिक्षा एक व्यक्ति को अनगिनत संभावनाओं की ओर आगे बढ़ने की अनुमति देती है। स्वामी विवेकानंद।
Cut out all these exclamation points. An exclamation point is like laughing at your own joke. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
इल्म वो दौलत है जिसे कोई चोरी नहीं कर सकता। अफलातून।
This is Radio Manu 90.0 FM. You were listening to the Mindful Minute. सेल्स, मार्केटिंग और ब्रांड प्रमोशंस के लिए हमसे राब्ता करें radiomanu@manu.edu.in पर।
So join the wave, come along for the ride. Radio Manu 90.0 FM, we're by your side. चलो बात करके देखते हैं.
Your voice, your guide.
You're listening to Saheli Samvad, Radio Manu 90.0 FM's Women's Show.
Welcome back on Saheli Samvad. We're in conversation with Natasha on really wondering where are women in conversations of climate change. So Natasha, just before the break again we were talking about the air pollution index, we were talking about all of these critical things that sometimes we don't even assume happen in Hyderabad, we assume they're happening elsewhere. But the question to, I think what we're here to discuss also is when we're talking about conversations on climate change, I have a couple of questions. Where are these conversations happening? Who are involved in these conversations? At what time do these conversations happening? Are they happening only around natural calamities? Are they only happening when things get to an extreme where something needs to happen? Or so where are these happening? When are these happening? Who are they happening with?
So sadly, there are not as many conversations happening as there should. The global large conversation is, of course, the COP, which happens every year. If you look at photographs of COP, you will literally find a handful of women. It's mostly men. But women should be there. Women should be represented because women are not just stakeholders, they are victims. And not just stakeholders and victims, women know what is going on. Women are probably more aware of things before men get to it because they are living it. But in all of these formal conversations, you really find women on the periphery. They are the activists. They are groups like Mothers for Clean Air, Our Kids Climate, Warrior Moms from India. These are women's rights. These are women who are talking about our children are suffering. Why are you not taking interest? But women should not merely be activists. They should be right there driving conversations. The other set of conversations which happen or don't happen is around natural disasters. When there are floods, when there is an earthquake, when there is anything, then we talk about rushing aid in, we talk about for a while about disaster management. But even there, how many people really talk about women? And for instance, menstrual hygiene. I mean, during the Pakistan flood, so many people said they don't need sanitary napkins. Don't you know? Women don't bleed when they are under stress.
Yeah.
They literally said that. But a woman needs her quota of menstrual pads. She needs a place where she can change. She should not be judged. Now, if you're squeezed into a little tent, where do you have the privacy? So these are conversations which don't not happen. And they are so important. And the whole thing of vulnerability to sexual abuse, whether it is women, and by women I mean trans women and every, I mean the entire gamut of women, whether it is adolescent boys and girls, everybody is so much more vulnerable. Handicapped people, they are so much more vulnerable to violence, sexual violence. Again, we don't talk about it. We should be. And that is why I'm so happy we are having this conversation, because people listen. These are not things which we automatically think of, but I do hope the people listening in today realize that these are conversations that should happen when the next time we are donating for flood relief or, any other disaster relief. At least the women think maybe somebody needs sanitary napkins. How do I find an organization who can reach it to them? It's so important. It's so important. So it's just very good that we are having this conversation.
So, Natasha, thank you so much for bringing in these important discussions that I think just go under the carpet. And especially bringing an awareness and understanding when we're talking about climate change, it's not just a linear solution that we're looking at, but really, like you're saying, for us to look at specific aspects of how we're contributing, what we're contributing, where is this money going, all of these components. So if you had to give, some insights or advice to our audience into how they can play a role in climate change itself, what is their role, how can they be a bigger player in contributing to that. And I think also the second is how can they also understand and go deep into how they can create spaces into, this intersectional understanding of when we're talking about climate change, how do we really expand that? How do we really build on that?
So I think the listeners into this conversation can really contribute meaningfully in two ways. One is the individual level. If we talk about air pollution, one of the reasons why pollution is so bad in Hyderabad, or one of the many reasons, is because of garbage burning. Why is garbage burnt? Because garbage is not segregated, and what can be composted is not composted. What can be recycled is not recycled. Everything is burnt. So if each of us, but by that I mean literally each of us, start thinking about how every time we throw something in the trash can for GHMC to pick up, we are contributing to air pollution in a way. So if we can be a little more responsible, it's a big thing. Again, carpool when you can. Don't take public transport as often as you can, because all these are adding to air pollution. Don't waste water. I mean, it's counterintuitive, but to even talk about it. But, these are little things we can do. But at the end of the day, though, it's not you and me. It is the government and the corporates that have to do it. It is the government that has to create the policies. It is corporates who have to invest in climate-friendly technology. What can we do? We can demand accountability. We can start questioning. This year, during the Lok Sabha polls, there were people talking to every candidate and saying, these are our demands from an environmental perspective. If you say you will do them, we will vote for you. So let's start demanding. Let's just start retweeting on Twitter. Let's just start sharing stories on Instagram, because it is awareness, and we should, we talk too much about individual change, but that sort of makes us feel guilty that we are not doing enough. But it's not just our job. So let us hold the people who are accountable, because it is their job. And when we all start raising our voice, maybe people cannot ignore us anymore. When it's just you and me talking, it's easy to ignore us.
Yeah.
So I will ask all our listeners to just keep advocating for it. Do what you can in your own capacity, but more importantly, demand that people who can do it really do what they should do.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think also what you shared about, just the first thing that you mentioned where each one has to take responsibility, even if it's on something as small as, say, garbage segregation, right? I think being mindful of that, because otherwise within families as well, what often then tends to happen is it's left that the woman in the house is meant to look after the waste disposal or all of that. And then again, that gendered layer into really looking at when just like what you're saying, each one really meaning that each one takes responsibility for their own disposal. And even what you shared about accountability, I think holding our leaders accountable, but I think even within community spaces, especially privileged community spaces where there are resident welfare associations, also holding them accountable, because sometimes, say, a larger government leader may seem intimidating to reach out to, but there are smaller places where we can hold our leaders, community leaders, also accountable. Thank you so much, Natasha. Thank you for joining us on today's conversation and really getting us to all think about, where are women in these conversations? What is really climate change, and really the whole umbrella of everything that goes into understanding climate change. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. That was our conversation with Natasha today on the topic, where are women in conversations of climate change? It has been interesting and it has been insightful in learning about climate change around us, the role that we may play, and the role that is a gendered understanding of the intersectionality of the different identities that are impacted when we talk about climate change and its effects. She has shared 2 ways in which you as an audience can take part, can really start playing a role in understanding, navigating climate change, and we invite you to do that. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Saheli Samvad. We'll be back on another day with another guest on another episode. Meanwhile, this is RJ Monisha signing off.
आप सुन रहे थे सहेली संवाद रेडियो मानो 90.0 FM पर। चलो बात करके देखते हैं।
You are listening to Radio Manu 90.0 FM. चलो बात करके देखते हैं।